Globalization is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that has transformed economies, societies, cultures, and politics worldwide. Here are some interesting topics related to globalization. Impact of globalization on cultures. Analyzing how globalization has influenced cultural exchange, homogenization, and the preservation of traditional cultural identities. Globalization and economic inequality. Investigating the relationship between globalization and income inequality both within and between countries. Globalization and labor market. Examining the effects of globalization on job opportunities, working conditions, and wage trends in different parts of the world. Globalization and environment. Studying the environmental consequences of increased global trade, transportation, and consumption patterns. Globalization and education. Exploring how globalization has influenced education systems, access to education, and the emergence of global education standards. Globalization and health. Investigating the impact of globalization on public health issues, such as the spread of diseases, access to healthcare, and pharmaceutical trade. Globalization and migration. Analyzing the relationship between globalization and international migration, including the push and pull factors influencing migration patterns. Globalization and politics. Examining how globalization has influenced political dynamics, sovereignty, and the rise of global governance structures. Globalization and technology. Studying the role of technological advancements and digital connectivity in facilitating globalization. Globalization and terrorism. Investigating the connections between globalization, terrorism, and transnational threats. Globalization and consumer culture. Exploring the emergence of a global consumer culture and its impact on local traditions and economies. Globalization and trade. Analyzing the benefits and challenges of global trade agreements and their effects on national economies. Globalization and food security. Studying how globalization has affected food production, distribution, and access on a global scale. Globalization and human rights. Examining the relationship between globalization and human rights issues, such as labor rights, child labor, and human trafficking. Globalization and social movements. Exploring how globalization has influenced the rise of transnational social movements and activism. Globalization and national identity. Analyzing the tension between globalization and national identity, cultural preservation, and nationalism. Globalization and communication. Studying the role of media and communication technologies in facilitating global interconnectedness. Globalization and international relations. Investigating how globalization has reshaped diplomacy, international cooperation, and conflict resolution. Globalization and urbanization. Examining the impact of globalization on urban development, migration to cities, and the transformation of urban spaces. Globalization and sustainable development. Analyzing how globalization can be harnessed to promote sustainable economic, social, and environmental practices. These topics provide a starting point for exploring the various dimensions and implications of globalization. As globalization continues to evolve, researchers and policymakers will continue to investigate its effects on different aspects of human society and strive to find ways to address its challenges and maximize its benefits.